But before we get into, a little game that Jordan and I are going to play, uh, I want to talk about something that I saw on Twitter from the Pro Football Writers Association. They named Brandon Beane, he's the Buffalo general manager, their executive of the year. And if you've been listening to this podcast for ever since we started, I think, Jordan, I think our first episode was about how good of a general manager Brett Veach was and how Brett Veach
Mhm.
deserves to win executive of the year. I made a tweet that could seem controversial to some, but I still don't think it's very controversial. I said, okay, it's interesting to note here that re signing the best player in all of football to a historic contract in North American sports, re signing one of the best interior defensive linemen in the game, re signing the best tight end in the game,
Mhm.
finding a draft class that is maybe one of the best draft classes I'd say this season with many
Mhm.
contributors early on in the season. When you think about L'Jarius Sneed has had the best grade of all rookie cornerbacks and he came from the 4th round. Brett Veach found a gem there. That's not even talking about his undrafted free agent gems when you talk about Tershawn Horton. That's a
Mhm.
gem in itself. And he all did this while trying to balance a cap that was already very close. We know, the whole $177 was thrown out there. We all know that that's probably not true, right? It's fun to talk about, but it's probably not true. But it's probably not too far off. I don't want to. I That's probably hyperbolic to say too far off, but um, it was probably low. It was probably close to the wall,
Yeah.
I'd say. But $177 is a little bit too specific. It's hard to technically track all of the cap going on. But apparently, all of that wasn't enough, according to the Pro Football Writers Association, to make Brett Veach the executive of the year. And that's very interesting to me because a lot of the naysayers to my tweet have said, "Oh, it's because who wouldn't have done those moves?
Mhm.
Who wouldn't have done that? Not only did they re-sign all those guys, but they brought back 20 of 22 Super Bowl starters, and a feat that hasn't been done in my recent memory in a very long time since the
Mhm.
free agency era began. I don't think that we've seen a team be able to do that with the COVID situation and then able to come back with a target on their back and then win 14 games the next season and keep the band back together. It's beyond me that people will look at what Brett Veach did and say, "Oh, what general manager wouldn't have done that?" Because I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that that's fair to say, "Oh, any general manager would have done that." Because I don't think that that's true. I don't think every general manager would have been able to re-sign 3 of the top 3 guys you had up for contract and
Mhm.
not let any of them walk and keep them in Kansas City for the long term while drafting a phenomenal draft class to contribute to your Super Bowl championship roster already while bringing back all those guys from your Super Bowl roster. It's easy to sit back here and say, "Oh yeah, what he did was easy," but in no way was that easy at all.
It's LeBron James, and that was the first thing I thought of. It's LeBron James should be the most valuable player in the NBA, probably 10 out of his 15 or 18 seasons, however long he's been in the NBA, 17 years, whatever. But he's supposed to be this good. That's what LeBron does. He's supposed to be this good every year. He's consistent. He's just doing his job. Brett Veach just did his job. Now, did he do the best job in the league? One of the best jobs in the league, I would say. And whether it's kind of a congrats on being good again thing. Like congrats on being as great as you were last year. But if you were the greatest the year before, you should not be penalized because of that, just because someone else, like a Russell Westbrook, averaged a triple double. Like just because the Bills got Stephon Diggs and the rest of their roster played a little bit better and Josh Allen took a step forward because of it. Bean didn't sign Josh Allen this year.
Right.
Bean didn't trade for Josh Allen this year. Bean didn't work with Josh Allen this year. Stephon Diggs was a big reason for that improvement. Josh Allen was a big reason for that improvement. They didn't add a ton to that team. It was already a good team. So if signing Stephon Diggs and making a couple moves along the fringes makes you executive of the year, then more power to you. But Brett Veach is one of the best executives in football for a reason because he's been doing it for a few years now. He has several years ahead of him. So I mean, I'm not too bent out of shape about it, but I think that when some members of Chiefs Twitter were saying, well, that's what he's supposed to do, that doesn't matter. If he's supposed to do it, but he's doing a great job, like if Patrick Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns every year moving forward because he's supposed to do it, he'd have to be the MVP every year because he's doing the best job. But I guess it's a semantics thing. It's tit for tat. I have no clue.
Semantics is a very good way to put it because a lot of people say, well, he drafted a running back at 32. You and I
Hmm.
both understand the value of drafting a running back high in the draft is not what it once was, obviously.
Yeah.
And right, okay, hindsight says, they could have drafted Chase Claypool, they could have drafted,
Hmm.
whoever came after Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But at the time, that's the best available player. I've come around on the pick saying, okay, I guess I don't really have a problem with it because in the first round, and look,
And
look
he's
at
a
him.
good player.
Exactly. He's been a
He's good.
consistent player, a consistent starter until he got hurt and forcibly
Yeah.
done the splits, which was looked very painful. And he was a
Hmm.
constant contributor, not only a constant starter, but a constant contributor to this team. He was a vital piece essentially to this offense. You did bring in another running back with Le'Veon Bell and everything like that. But I think that it's kind of you mentioned it, LeBron James effect, to kind of just sweep it under the rug to say, oh, well, he was supposed to do this. And one of the things that people defend Bean with doing is saying, oh, well, he went out and got Stephon Diggs. Okay. Yes, that was a good move on their part. Stephon Diggs is a phenomenal receiver. Anytime you can get a top 5 receiver in the league, top 10 receiver in the league, you should do it. But you know who else got a top 5, top 2, and not number 2 receiver in the league is the Arizona Cardinals. They went out and got
Hmm.
a receiver too. So now is he the executive of the year? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to just judge how good a general manager is on the splash moves they make, right? That seems like what we're doing here. As if, oh, did they make a big move? Well, they're the executive of the year. Well, not necessarily, right? Brett Veach did what he did, and he did what he was supposed to do, and he did more than what he was supposed to do, essentially. And look at him now. Look where the Chiefs are. I mean, the Bills are in a good spot too because they brought in Stephon Diggs. I'm not sliding the Buffalo Bills at all or Brandon Bean at all. I think he is also a very good general manager. But I'm just saying, put some respect on Brett Veach's name.